Hello, I'm Mark,
I'm Casey.
And I'm Patrick.
and today we're going to talk about 100,000 EVs going to the retirement home. But first, we're going to roll that title.
Is couldn't think of a quote from The Giver. That's what I'm thinking of right now. Just to shove them in a room with a needle and then open the window again, and it's empty.
You're watching the Tesla Life Express.
A little dark. That's what I was thinking.
Hey, everyone, thanks so much for joining us. A little inside baseball going on with Casey today.
So the book is called The Giver.
Yeah. That's what you were trying to come up with before the title?
This is what as I was coming up with something to say, that flashed across my mind is The Giver.
The Giver.
Well, as we get into the story, you can explain what the connection was. But we're going to tell the audience about it first.
Yeah, this article came from Inside EVs, and of course we linked the article below if you'd like to read it in anytime you wish. But this article indicates that we are now at the point that there are so many EVs in the world that some of them have reached some retirement age of sorts and are going to be recycled. So we've got 100,000 this year that will head to the big EV recycler in the sky, and they're going to disappear from being EVs. And the question in the article is, well, what's going to happen to the batteries? And of course, we all know that they just pull the batteries out and they bury them in the ground somewhere, and you never set them again. No, that's not true at all. One of the big positives about EVs is that their battery packs can be recycled at a phenomenally high rate. We're talking 97, 98, 99% of the battery materials can be reused, realigned, and then sold back to EV manufacturers. So they've got material to put together new battery packs.
Yeah, and anybody who proves that, look at lead batteries. We're at what, 98%? Like for the longest time, it was 97%, and people never thought we'd be there.
Right. Yeah, batteries are one of the most recycled products out there. I mean, if you compare it to paper or plastic, it's head and shoulders better than those.
Maybe glass.
So if we've reached 100,000 EVs that will retire this at some point during this fiscal year, then it's only going up because, of course, EV adoption has gone up tremendously. So that 100,000 is going to quickly turn to 500,000. It's going to turn to 1 million. It's going to turn to 2 million. It's going to keep going up every year after this. So we need to have a battery plan in place. And luckily, we have known this for quite some time, and a number of different manufacturers have gotten into the game. And one of the big ones, of course, is JB Straub's
Redwood Materials.
Yeah. Right. And Redwood Materials has even opened a couple of different plants, and they've talked a little bit about their recycling. And not only do they just take the actual materials and realign them and resell them back to EV companies, but they also talked about the second use case that they're doing as well recently, where they're actually able to use these batteries in I guess it would be a stationary type storage scenario, where they're not in a vehicle anymore. They don't need to be as quick with response, but they can now be a secondary source or pull in and hold energy from renewables or other sources, and this becomes a positive for the grid as well. So lots of different choices that can happen, and the article indicates that second use can be all the way down to 60 or 50% of the original battery's use. So even if it's lost or degraded to 60%, a second use case still may be in its future as opposed to going even further and breaking down the components individually and realigning them and selling them back to make brand new packs.
It reminds me of my old computing equipment. I run them hard and I spec them out really good. And by the time I'm done with them, they're still really nice for somebody. And they go on to live another couple of years before they end up either needing an overhaul or being ready to recycle. And these batteries are similar. Like you've got somebody who's running them like an enthusiast powerhouse, and then hey, you've got somebody who's gonna surf the web and print a few recipes.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna do that for a while. Stationary storage isn't gonna draw 400 amps for 10 minutes and not gonna supercharge for let's call it Cybertruck. They're gonna supercharge at half a megawatt for 10 minutes every month. It's easy for them. Yeah.
This makes a lot of sense. So when Redwood started, they would take cells, they would break them down, and it was called Redwood Materials, right? So they then just made this material that they would sell into the market for people that were making batteries. Well, now they expanded into making cathode materials as well. So now they're higher up the food chain, and now they've gotten to the point with this, and this is something I didn't know that they were doing, where they're taking these old cells and making stationary energy storage systems for data centers and other places, which makes perfect sense. Like you said, Mark, it's not as grueling on them as an EV application has to be able to discharge quickly when you accelerate, has to be able to charge quickly when you regen or when you supercharge. But a stationary storage, if you need to more power, you can just scale it out with more cells. And so you can use them at a much lower capacity, much slower discharge rates, much slower charge rates, because you can put tons of them together, literal tons of them. And then it's a much easier life. So they're like semi-retired. This is just easy breezy.
Exactly.
We saw when the Volt and Leaf first came out. They had these. Mark and I kind of think they're probably more PR than anything, because we only ever saw maybe one or two other rollouts. They saying it's after they brought the
Yeah, they were in like a miniature shipping container, like a 15-footer or something, where you would open up the doors and there would be racks of Leaf or Volt batteries that would be plugged in, and they became a little storage unit that they could place anywhere, even outdoors.
Yeah, they did have some, but I don't know how many they actually made. But we had touched on before the the large battery deployment fires last year or the year before. There had been one company that instead of using mega packs, instead of using the Chinese packs, they were using old Nissan Leaf packs, like for real this time. Like, not saying that Nissan never did it, but these ones were at scale, and it was quite impressive. Like, and they brought up the point, we're not supercharging, we're not doing 0 to 60. We don't need the performance, we need the capacity. And
right.
They're out there in the desert in these heating and cooled shipping containers, 20 foots, and they're just doing what they need and supplementing the grid, supplementing their customers. This makes sense before going to the recycling, because why recycle something that's still got useful capacity, and then recycle it rather than landfilling it, because you've still got valuable elements there.
Yep.
The other beauty of that is once you do recycle a lithium battery, it's better than it was when it started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a reason that this saying is reduce, reuse, recycle. Recycle is the last step. If you can reuse it, that's even better. In its current form, get more life out of it.
Yep.
Why go through the extra manufacturing costs and steps and processes and energy use if you can just use it as is in a different, new way that fits what it's currently capable of?
Yeah, in this box right here is a pair of server processors for my rack servers. Each of them is 20 core, and they don't do any good for the data center they came from, but they do plenty good for me to practice my my lessons with, and then I can also use them for fun when I'm done.
Yep.
Right.
And Redwood, get a load of this. They have released a post indicating that they're receiving currently 20 gigawatt hours of batteries annually today, and that equates to about 250,000 EV battery packs. They are
Right.
now accounting for 90% of all lithium ion battery and material recycling in all of North America. So
Wow.
this small startup is now the holding the lion's share of lithium ion recycling in North America.
Yeah, the cool thing for them is that you can just look at EV production from a decade ago, and that's going to be their ramp. They're going to follow that curve. So
Exactly.
they have some forward looking at what to expect as far as cars coming off the road.
Yeah, and as Patrick mentioned, if you can, they've now gotten so many batteries coming in that they're experiencing this ability that why are we not looking at what capacity these battery packs still have? Why would we go to the trouble of breaking them down to their individual components if that battery pack can be placed in service again as it sits? All we have to do is charge it, put it in some sort of a cage or rack system that can hold it, and we've got ourselves a viable product because people are just turning them in larger volumes as time goes along. So this was bound to happen, and this year is when it happened.
Yeah, and you still make your profit without having to put as much into it to get said profit.
Right, and JB knows very well. But I mean, one of the reasons he was one of the co-founders of Tesla is because what he knew about battery management from his solar racing days, and so making a BMS that can handle aged batteries and monitor them and make sure that they are not overstressed and indicate when they need to be replaced. That's right in his wheelhouse. He would certainly know who to hire to get that done. So it makes sense.
Exactly, a little bit of logistics and distribution, and your small amount of product versus throwing it all down, putting all the energy into it, and then building it all up, and then having to slipstream into somebody else's process. It works.
Yeah, and they're going to definitely take those when they're done with them, right? The contract probably even stipulates it that way, that Redwood gets them back when they're done.
We need these.
Yeah. And then they will become better refined materials to get made into batteries that are with the new technology, probably using 20% less materials to get the same energy out of them than their original form. So,
Right.
The if you got 1,000 batteries, you get 12 coming in, you get a 1,200 going out.
Yeah.
Pretty
Like
cool.
you had 100 kilowatt hours go in, and then the technology improves so much, you got 150, 250 kilowatt hours going out with the same material.
Right.
Not bad.
And Redwood has indicated that they're going to be aiming for these second-use battery systems at the commercial space for now. So, unlike Tesla, that has like a power wall setup that goes to individuals, Redwood is aiming at the commercial space, probably because of volume and ease of payment and such. That groups are now looking, like data centers and such, are looking to have this backup, and it's a lot easier to have one larger customer than a whole bunch of individual customers that are smaller. So, but the only thing this article doesn't have, which is kind of disappointing, is they didn't have any photographs of what these second-use packs look like. Do they have a standardized size? Are there a few different sizes? I believe there are different sizes, but I was wondering if they have is there advertising on it? Is it a container? Is it something that is modular that they can just expand as they need it at the factory to put a few of them together to make a larger pack?
This is
JB was interviewed by Phil LeBeau for this, and they were standing overlooking a field of these.
nice.
They're in the background. They're not, you're not getting to see them up close or anything, but they were cargo container size from what it looked like.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is an underserved market because remember there was a Tesla Power Pack, which was between the Powerwall and the Mega Pack, and they don't make it anymore. So why go after the Powerwall customers, which has Tesla and 8 other large players, plus probably another 20 to 30 small players trying to get everybody's household power, and then why try and compete against your buddy and cattle and a couple other large manufacturers on the grid scale when you've got all these batteries you can break down into put them in the shipping containers, and nobody's backing up your local grocery store or movie theater. So why not? Yeah. Because they're not going to buy 30 Powerwalls, and they can't afford a mega pack.
And data center growth is incredible right now. It seems like an insatiable energy demand, which places a lot of stress on some local grids. And so if you can instead have these buffering that use so that the data center can fluctuate with demand, but pull that from the batteries and instead give a steady load to the grid, a predictable load to the grid that they can manage for. I don't know if you guys have listened to the Volts podcast, but David Roberts is a reporter who hosts this, and he covers energy. And so it's a great podcast, and they talk about the needs of data centers and the grid and how batteries solve so many problems.
Yeah,
this is a perfect example of that.
That's 2 more customers right there. You've got the grid themselves. You can sell it to the grid operators. Like, hey, you've got these people trying to put data centers in. You can't handle it, right? Here's some buffers. Hey, you can't get the permits because you're going to overwhelm the grid. How about some batteries? And again, that's another tiered approach, because somebody running like 1 or 2 racks will literally just buy a couple Powerwalls. But the only people who are going to need mega packs are the whole data center or the AI customers. And not everybody's running an AI data center. And so those ones in the middle, this is perfect for.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is good news. And again, as Patrick has mentioned, the predictable amount of batteries that will be returned is just going to follow the EV line. So there's going to be a hockey stick jump and a compounding of these batteries being returned over time. But luckily, JB and others have looked at that and said, we have to start scaling now because this demand is coming. And by the sounds of it, 100,000 EVs being returned for recycling now is going to grow to 1 million and 10 million. It's not going to be too long. So I certainly see that there's a bright future in recycling, and obviously Redwood Materials saw that real early and has been able to capitalize on it.
They're going to need to make them some gigafactories all over the world.
That's right. Yeah. With that, I think we will wrap it. Let's start with Patrick for shoutouts today.
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, where I write about my future free from fossil fuels.
Thank you so much. Casey, what do you got for us besides a new baby?
Catch us on Wednesday for the live show. She's tasting her hands right now.
Oh, they are tasty hands.
Num, 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 num.
Nom, nom, nom. Yeah. So we'll catch you live at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, Eastern.
That's right. Coming up. And if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. Press that subscribe button. Helps us out immensely. And join us next time. And together we'll find out what is happening in the Tesla life. Thanks, everyone.